We'll begin our Airport Authority Board meeting by asking for approval of the minutes for the July meeting as they've been provided.
I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes from the July meeting. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Lee, would you give us your report, please?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Not a lot has changed since our last meeting. Just a quick update on our status of our grants that we are trying to get closed out, and the new grant, which is being circulated for signatures. I gather that you've received that at your individual offices, the grant for the master plan. It was submitted once, and then...
I haven't received anything, but
okay.
We'd asked them to go to the city attorney first before me, so I'll check with Craig when I get back to make sure he's seen it, but I have not seen it.
We had to update the attorney information since Kimber no longer works there, so that was...
They're a little part-time, but...
So that's why it was sent a second time, because we had the wrong information on the Logan City Attorney. So that's why they're sending it out again. So just be aware that it's in the works for you to receive, and they appreciate getting that signed as soon as possible so we can move forward on that. The runway overlay project, that grant is still open. There's just some as-built, I believe, that we're getting approved by FAA, and I think that's all that's remaining. I haven't received the paperwork for the final request for reimbursement for the retainage amount, so I will need to get that, so, and we'll have to make that final payment to Staker Parsons. They did pay us for the damaged closer X's, and we got a check for that, so everything's been taken care on their end, and all we need to do is pursue that final payment to Staker Parsons, and then I think this grant can be closed out. The fog seal project that was done earlier this spring, that grant has been closed out. That was a state-funded project, and it's been closed out. And then we had our airport relief grant, our third one that we received in line with the COVID relief funding. That amount for $59,000. I submitted the paperwork, just a one-time request for reimbursement on that grant last week, with all what I thought was all the proper documents. I got word this morning that they wanted an SF 425 form rather than a 424 form, which was news to me, and so I just got John's signature on it, and I will go back and resubmit that, and hopefully they will acknowledge that and process it, and then that grant will be closed out also. So we're doing well on making sure all of our grants are closed out, and then making sure that the new grant that we're going to be working off of for the next year and a half on the master plan is in place. Moving on to maintenance of the grounds and the buildings, the tractor we leased from Valley Implement has had several issues this year, and it's been hard to keep it running. Right now we're waiting on a hose that blew out on the air conditioning unit, and of course that tractor is solid glass, and if you get out there without an air conditioner, it's impossible to stay in it too long. So I did operate it a little bit when we got the colder weather. Recently I could open the doors, but now it's impossible. So we're waiting for for that part to arrive, and then they should get it up and running again. It had also some other issues with some alarms systems on there that were acting up, and they had to go in and troubleshoot those problems. Earlier this spring, we spoke of a sinkhole that we had on Taxiway Delta. Logan City Street Department did patch that, and now we have hired them to be our basically contractor to do the new parking area that we're building out there, and that project is moving right along too. So, how many spaces do you think we're going to get from that, John?
It'll approach 100.
Yeah, so that's substantially more than that we've had out there, and then this will free up the old parking area for the expansion of the FBO next year. We had to replace one gate limit switch on the vertical lift gate going into Taxiway Juliet. We've had an ongoing problem with this gate, and I think that this has been the issue. That you just by looking at it, you can't see that switch was sticking. But we contacted the manufacturer, and they said typically that when the gate won't close, it's the limit switch on there. It's internally sticking. So we did replace that limit switch, and ever since then it's been working fine. Cross my fingers that that was the problem. We got it solved. Also, recommendation from our Part 139 inspector that we keep a better record of the ARF truck maintenance and things pertaining to that vehicle. We have contracted with Sid Martin to provide maintenance on that truck, and they did replace the batteries that needed to be replaced. Matter of fact, she no sooner left doing the inspection than the truck went dead, and we couldn't get it started, and it was a result of the batteries, the lifetime of the batteries going. So we did replace those. That was about a $3,000 item. We've had some other minor maintenance issues with the truck. The one thing that we're going to have to do is we have two lights, extension lights on the front end of the truck that are not working properly, and we're going to have to get those repaired. But the one thing I wanted to bring to your attention was the recommendation from Sid Martin's to replace the tires on this truck, merely because the age of the truck. Now the truck sits inside, and those tires don't sun rot at all, and it's basically have all the tread on them. They're not wore out by no means, and I really can't see spending $24,000 to replace those tires when they're still good tires. But still, the recommendation of our maintenance company is to replace them. So I guess that would be a board decision if they want to do that. But I can see better places for that money to be spent than something like this. Of course, that's my opinion. Last part of my report deals with non-compliant items from our CERT inspection. Everything has been corrected with the exception of 3 items, and those 2 of those are the ones that are going to cost some money. The one being the panels in the signs on the taxiways. We discussed that at the last meeting, and the other, which we also discussed, is our snow removal fleet. So we don't really have to solve these problems, but we have to have a plan in place, and I have to notify the inspector that we have some sort of plan to take care of these in the near future. And then the last item was the lack of training for FAA personnel that come out and maintain our ILS system. I don't know how to handle that. They're part of the FAA, and we got one division of the FAA saying they're non-compliant, and we got the other division not willing to show up and receive the training. So, kind of at a standoff there. But I guess we'll have to find some way to appease our inspector in that regards.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Taylor? Welcome. You have presented previously the policy for the waiting list and got some feedback. And have you incorporated those recommendations into the?
Yes, so I was working with Mr. Hughes, and we made some significant changes, and I circulated it through Janine, and so it's finished, and I can submit it to you for final approval if you'd like.
Yeah, I think, Janine, wasn't that included in our packet last month? Are you remembering?
I think so, but I'm trying to remember when I sent.
Well, there's too much uncertainty for us to address that
Okay.
today. But let's include that final copy in the minutes and for the agenda for next time we meet, and we'll put that in place at that time. An update from Union Pacific.
Yes, so we reached out to Union Pacific with a response letter, and just to give you sort of an update, so as you know, they were asking for $61,600 as back rent for the period from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, and then going forward, similar rent yearly. But our position is that it's an established rule in common law that holdover tenants, when a landlord elects to hold over a tenant, that the tenancy arising from that holding over is always presumed to be on the same covenants that governed the previous tenancy. And so, in other words, unless the tenancy is replaced by a statute, a new agreement, or an express holdover provision in the original lease, each leasehold period and the rent due for that period is calculated on the same metrics of the previous agreement. And they've specifically elected to treat us as a holdover tenant, and there is no provision in the previous agreement that lets them unilaterally propose or impose new conditions in the holdover period. And so I think we have a firm basis to say that the amount of back rent that we owe them for the period of July 1, 2021 until June 30th, 2022 is 1/20th of the $15,000 for 20 years, which would be $750. And that's the rate that we argue would continue until a new agreement is reached. We sent that response earlier in July. We have not heard back from them yet.
Okay. Was there also a question as to the amount of land that was actually involved?
Yes, and so I worked with Judge. Her name escapes me, I apologize. But we were working together and building up a body of evidence that that will be useful in negotiation for future terms as to the commercial viability of that land and the zoning laws that cover that land and the different factors that would impact their valuation of that land. But we decided that in this that would be most useful, kept close to the chest until our negotiation actually occurs. But until then, we just need to state that this is the rule for holdover tenancies, this is the amount that we're required to pay under law, and move forward towards a new agreement. And then at that point, we would use all that data we collected.
And did I read in the notes that it's about $100,000 to move the fence if you decide to?
It would be very expensive to move the fence, and it would also require a lot of interfacing with the FAA, because then it would penetrate the airspace requirements.
Well,
So
good luck with the railroad. See how things
that
go.
would be a challenge. So it's, two giant behemoths that we have to work with, and the railroad seems like the lesser of two evils. So.
Yeah.
I
Moving
think-
the fence may be the lesser of two evils when you get our final bill, but we'll see.
The estimate, I think, was $500,000 to relocate the fence, and if the FAA required it to be lit, it would be an additional $500,000.
Rock in a hard place.
Yes.
Taylor, I did reach out to the railroad's local intergovernmental relations representative and told him that we were working with their staff back at their main office on this issue. He offered that if you had trouble getting responses or working with them, that he'd be willing to help you. I can give you his name and number afterward if you want.
Thank you.
Or I'll just email it to you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding Union Pacific and that security fence? Mr. Koch isn't here, so we can't address further. I think he is finalizing the documents to make the application for the green vehicle grant. We'll have to approve that at a later time. Baron, you had a meeting just Tuesday. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Baron Wiesman, Utah State University, today on behalf of the Utah Aeronautics Conference. The Utah Aviation Coalition is a partnership of 10 different organizations in the state of Utah, including the backcountry pilots, airport owner-operators, as well as the Department of Aeronautics. And we have proposed, and as I mentioned last time, to host the event up here for 2023. It'll be a 3-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the 22nd through 24th of June of 2023. The first 2 days will be hosted at Utah State University on Tuesday. X Factor, which is the company that will be the event management for the organization, they're going to be the ones help to do the training sessions, the seminars, the presentations, the sponsors. They came up along with Jared Esselman and his group to look, and we toured the airport, spoke with Lee Ivey, which was real nice, had a chance to see the facilities at the airport. Unlike this one in May, they're including this airport open house as part of the conference. So the conference, 2 days, the proposed, I think it's going to be $100 for attendee. So it's going to be very reasonable for all the sessions, the meals. But the Saturday event obviously is opened up to the public. And they really want to make that. We haven't had an open house since 2015. And so we're really going to be working with the community to be able to create an event to bring people out to the airport and to bring in the commemorative Air Force, some air show demonstrations, showcase some of the improvements at the airport, and really highlight that event. The Thursday, Friday will be mostly at Utah State University up in the Taggart Student Center, the quad. So there's an air space for helicopters to land and other electric vehicles. And then we'll have the 2-day workshop, panels, seminars, not just hosting Utah Aviation, but they're trying to make it a region event. So inviting some of those other companies in Wyoming and Idaho also to participate. So with that, we're looking at, as I said last time, now that we've officially made the commitment for it, to form a subcommittee from the Airport Authority Board, if we will, to help organize the ground events, the air show performers to come into the aerial demonstration performers. Don't want to say air show. It's a different level of FAA approval, but the aerial demonstration individuals. We've already got commitments, soft commit from Brad Worston, Barry Hancock, and we'll reach out to some others to bring them in for some events that week. Any questions about the proposed event for next June?
And Lee is working with you on that committee?
Yes. He's given some information about the past support that the Airport Authority Board had done, and as well as the community, and we anticipate the same requests for this next one to perform. For example, the medical, the law enforcement, the signage, those kind of things at the airport, trash collection, all those kind of things that normally are supported by the city and county for that event.
Good.
The only other thing I was going to mention is, to talk about outreach at the airport, we'd like to host our annual Girls in Aviation Day on the 17th of September. There's no football game, home or away. And I was going to ask if the parking lot will be done by then. That will be good. But last year we had about 98 young ladies ages 8 to 18 and parents. So we had about 150 people at the airport. USU hosted in their hangar, which is real nice to bring this STEM event for young women. And we anticipate a similar turnout this year as we continue to encourage aviation for young women.
What would the hours be?
9 to 12. It's just a morning event. Registration's at 8:30. We finish up about 11:30 with some guest speakers and a small lunch. And so it's a chance for these young ladies to be able to learn how aviation can be in their future.
What did you say registration for that was, or did you?
It's $10. It's just to cover the cost. We have a small lunch. They get a T-shirt and goodie bag. It just covers some of the administrative expenses. We're not trying to make any money, just try to cover costs. And usually we get some donations from the community to help cover some of the lunch expenses and things like that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good. Any other items to bring before the board at this time? We appreciate your interest and your participation. We'll stand adjourned until probably again in September for the outstanding items we have.
Just a housekeeping point on that. I noticed on the agenda it says items for discussion, and you had the hangar site waiting list policy. Just by way of public notice, or do we need to put like action item if we're actually voting on that, so the public knows a decision is being made? I know we try and designate on our agendas, if it's an action item rather than just a discussion.
We certainly can do that.
That's what.
I had the same question when I looked at it today. I was just wondering for myself if we were just going to discuss it or take action.
Okay. We'll do that. So we hope to have an action item on the waiting list in September, as well as the support of the FAA grant for the green vehicle change. And we'll make that notation in the future. We're in the process of trying to convince Lee to not retire at the end of November. And that failing, we're in the process of entertaining interviews. We had the initial interviews yesterday, and we're continuing to receive applications, and we'll hope to have a recommendation for the board to approve in a September meeting, with them beginning October 1. That would provide a 2-month overlap before Lee retires. Helping in that process, the executive and Bill Francis and Brett and I have been participating in reviewing the applications and sitting in on the interviews. By contract, the airport manager is an employee of Cache County, and their benefits are paid through the Cache County employee system. And if you know of anybody that would like a real good experience in a Part 139 airport, then encourage them to make application. We did get a couple of what I understand is fairly standard applications from Asia, one from Abu Dhabi and one from Sri Lanka. We'll interview them if they will come here for the interview. It did not appear that they were serious contenders. Any other questions or items? Thanks again for being here.